is James Mathers for the Digital Cinema Society at Cine Gear Expo 2023. I'm here with my very old friend, Michael Bravin. Now, we've known each other for many decades. And he's with Canon USA. He's a fellow. And I know you're a real smart guy, Michael, but what does the title fellow mean?
Well, like a good fellow or... No, actually, at Canon, what a fellow is someone who has been around and has a certain subject matter expertise and acts as an advisor. So when I came to Canon, I was a director, which means that I have managers and sub-managers working for me. But when you become a fellow, you no longer have that management responsibility. So I work with our product group and our product planning group to advise about motion picture and cinema industry. And I also work with third parties for Canon USA. So bringing equipment in to show in our booth that works with our cameras and providing equipment to third-party manufacturers.
So motion picture entertainment industry is your area at Canon, because Canon's a vast company, but it's also really established in lenses and cameras. So I don't know, it's been around for better part of a century, and there's millions of lenses out there that they've made. What are you up to these days? So
basically, Canon is a lens company, and we make cameras that work with the lenses, but we're known for our optics since the beginning. And it was about 11 years ago when the company decided to get into the cinema market and repurpose some of the technology and some of the raw materials from still cameras into a line of cinema cameras, which was Cinema EOS when the C300 and C500 came out.
Well, that made a big impact.
Yeah. So this Cine Gear, the thing that we're featuring that's new is we didn't have PTZs in our Cine Gear booth last year, and we have a family of zoom lenses called the Flex Zooms, which we introduced the full frame version, the 20-50 and the 45-135 at NAB last year. And then this year we introduced the Super 35 version of the lenses. And what makes them unique is that you can internally replace a relay and the mount yourself, which is where the name Flex comes from, because they're flexible. So you could buy the two full frame lenses and the relay kits, and then you could convert the lenses to Super 35. So you gain a stop. So the full frame lenses are a 2.4. And when you either buy them as Super 35 or convert them with a relay, they're T1.7.
Oh, that's fast for a zoom.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And what's the zoom range?
So the full frame is 20-50 and 45-135. And the Super 35 version is 14-35 and 31.5-90.
Oh, that's a great solution, because I know many equipment owners like myself are challenged, not to have two complete sets of lenses, but to have the flexibility to go back and forth. And Canon was really largely responsible for starting this whole large sensor business when they had the 5D, and people realized that they could start shooting movies with what was a DSLR, a still camera, right?
Yeah. I think it was 2019. It might have been the last lens panel that you did on the lot here, or it might have been at the convention center. I'm not sure, but my colleague Art Adams from Airy was sitting next to me, and Les Sellen from Cook was sitting next to him, and he mentioned that they're the only company that makes full-frame cameras and lenses.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah, well, Les reminded him, the guy sitting next to you works for Canon, and the 5D was the first full-frame cinema camera. Yeah, Canon kind of stumbled into that because that camera was originally designed for Reuters and the news agencies to be able to do video clips. But as filmmakers always do, they found it and they embraced it, and it became a tool. Back in those days, it became the tool for shooting full-frame motion picture.
It really had a lot to do with democratizing filmmaking, for better or worse, and it had a lot to do with the development of digital cinema production.
Yeah. The number of people that I talk to that say they shot the first movie with the 5D Mark II, it's amazing. It's a huge list of people.
So tell me about the family tree, starting with the 5D and going up to your latest digital cinema camera.
So there's a bit of a gap between the DSLR motion picture production and the Cinema EOS, but that was the impetus to start the Cinema EOS program. So it was here on the lot 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, that we introduced. I didn't work for Canon at the time. I was a customer. I was blown away because Canon introduced the Cinema EOS line with the C300, and it was small and compact, which I think was ahead of the curve because we didn't see the Alexa Mini camera for many years after that. So the C300 was the flagship camera, and a handful of zoom lenses and prime lenses to go with it, EF mount.
Super 35 size.
Super 35 size. And that C300 has evolved to the C300 Mark II, which added internal recording, and then the C300 Mark III, which added internal RAW recording.
And 4K came in there somewhere because the original ones were only HD,
yeah,
right?
4K came in with the C300 Mark II. And then the C500 was the original RAW camera that required outboard recording. And when the C500 Mark II came out a couple years ago, that featured internal RAW recording. So the C500 chip is from the C700 line of cameras, and the C300 Mark II chip is a new chip with dual gain output. And there's the same sensor is in the C70. So we have the C300 Mark III, the C70, C500 Mark II, and recently the R5C, which adds cinema capability to a mirrorless camera.
So they're mirrorless. They're very small cameras. You said earlier that Canon started making cameras to go with their lenses. And that, you have a big lens and there's a really small camera on the back of it, but that's the way things are going.
Well, I remember in the early days of digital cinematography, back when the F900 and the VariCam first came out, there was a lot of discussion because of digital sensor technology that it might make sense to build the sensor into the lens and then have some kind of a mating or docking for the rest of the camera, because the nice thing about digital cinematography, it doesn't matter the size of the camera. With a film camera, the camera itself didn't have to be large, but you had to have the mag and you had to have the way to attach the mag. And with digital technology, you can make the camera almost the same size as a sensor.
What do you see in the future of optics?
Well, there's a lot of talk about a bunch of different technologies, because basically what lenses do is bend light in order to make telephoto or focus, or how that technology works. Now there's talk about using magnetic fields to bend the light. And there's also some technology that uses either liquid lenses or molded lenses made out of acrylic or some sort of plastic material. The stuff that I've seen for making a whole lens doesn't make sense at this point. But we've got a couple lenses, our 600 and our 800 still lenses that are fixed aperture that have a molded element in
fixed aperture.
Yeah. And those lenses are designed to be super compact, and they actually fold up. And so that technology of being able to use one of the elements being molded, that's getting mature. So I think in the not too distant future, we'll see motion picture lenses that have either electrical field to refract the light, or are using other materials besides glass. It's still very difficult to beat the technology that we have now with polishing glass and coating it. That's a very mature technology.
How about in the area of metadata and focus assist? Do you see a lot of changes there?
Well, the interesting thing for me is that autofocus, which was a pariah in the motion picture industry.
Don't say that
well,
word.
It's become necessary.
I know.
And not the way that people think, where you touch on the screen and you focus, which you can do, but it's a focus assist tool.
Assist, yeah.
And a lot of the focus iris zoom systems that are out there use ranging or distance measurement to give the AC the actual distance, but it still has a human being turning that knob.
Yeah, we make the creative decisions.
Yeah, but one of the things that happened during the pandemic is that the sports teams started using mirrorless cameras on the sideline, and they needed to use the autofocus because these Super 35 cameras or full frame cameras have very shallow depth of field, and the operators couldn't keep up. So they absolutely had to have autofocus. And then when you look at the new 25 to 1000 box lens that Fujinon has that's used for entertainment and sports, it's very difficult for an operator to focus when that lens is all the way out at 1000. So the autofocus circuitry, either working together with a FIZ or giving an indication in the viewfinder, that's where that technology is right now. I think in the future, there's no reason that an AC can't regularly use a tap screen to select where folks are going to be dragged to do a focus pull. That technology is available.
Really will be pulling, won't it?
Yep, yep. And you can do all of this stuff now, but it doesn't meet the speed and the accuracy that ACs provide right now.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Michael. Thanks for
Thank
bringing
you.
us up to speed.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.